Kevin Gu was on a business trip abroad and there was a terrorist attack. Everyone called me. Kevin's mom said she and Kevin's dad were at the State Department and were eagerly waiting for me to go and deal with the State Department. My dad, who hadn't called me in 10 years, called me. He said he had connections in the State Department and could find a way to repatriate Kevin Gu. Even the BFF, Kevin Gus brothers, co-workers, and neighbors all called me to ask about the situation. Only I, who was in the middle of the postpartum recovery period, calmly hung up one call after another. After all, when Kevin Gu saw on the news that his ex-girlfriend, who was a war correspondent, was caught up in the horror, he left his family and daughter behind and flew there to make sure she was safe. I asked Kevin Gu, with my amniotic fluid dripping from my belly, "Are you sure you want to leave your family and daughter behind? Are you sure you want to leave your family and daughter to fly to that war-torn country? If you do, Kevin Gu, I will not bear the consequences for you." Kevin Gu didn't answer my words, but the eager slamming of the door said it all. So he was going to die. Why should I save? Kevin Gus' favorite channel is the International Channel, which I didn't understand before. But the day before yesterday a story was shown on the news. A female war correspondent from China was captured by terrorists while conducting an interview. The video footage was only a split second, but I recognized the woman as Jessica Jiang, the most famous host of the International Channel. Just as I was sitting on the couch with a big belly and cantaloupe, feeling sorry for the female reporter, Kevin Gu, however, lost his temper and knocked over the fruit plate on the table, and even hit his knee hard on the corner of the coffee table when he got up from the sofa. My stomach clenched at the impact. But Kevin Gu didn't even notice the pain. Stiffly, he went to the kitchen to get a glass of water. But he pressed the boiling water button, so hot that he immediately smashed the glass. He hurriedly washed his mouth with cold water to cool it down, then hurried back to his room and slammed the door. It wasn't until an hour later that Kevin Gu plummeted out of the room. I have to go on an impromptu trip. My fingers tightened slightly as I held the cantaloupe, but I stood up calmly. Kevin Gu, I'm due in 2 days. It's really not a good time for you to go on a business trip. What if I have a sudden seizure? You know, my mom died of tragic birthing incident while giving birth to my brother. I'm really scared of labor. And aren't you looking forward to the birth of my daughter? Don't you want the first person she sees when she opens her eyes to be her father? Kevin Gus' face is a little pale. But a moment he continued. This business trip is really important to me. I have to go. But you can rest assured that I will be back in time before you give birth. I smiled. Even now my belly has issued a convulsive pain. And even my legs have been spreading like an open faucet dripping liquid. I promise you. But Kevin Gu, I still have to say it up front. You have to bear all the consequences of your trip on your own. I won't help you bear half of it. Perhaps the expression on my face was too solemn. Kevin Gus' body slightly trembled. Afterwards, he said to me as if swearing, "Don't worry. I will definitely come back safely." After saying that, he eagerly went back to the house. Eagerly casually collected 2 pieces of clothing, hastily put on his shoes and was about to leave. Seeing that he was about to go out, I finally called out to him with a soft heart. Kevin Gu, wait a minute. He turned back sideways with some impatience. Didn't you just promise to let me go? What are you calling me back for now? My palms were clenched tightly, and the pain in my belly became more and more intense. But I still only calmly said, "Your passport did not bring." Said I dragged the amniotic fluid dripping all over the leg. Went to the room. He took out his passport. And then I handed him a bank card. This bank card is Kevin Gu and I 7 years of marriage. He transferred to me all the salary. Seeing my action, Kevin Gu received the passport and the bank card. His hand trembled a little, and even his eyebrows were a little scarlet. For a second, I thought he would stay for me. But he stuffed the bank card and passport into his handbag and swore at me again. "Don't worry. I will be back before you go into labor." He slammed the door eagerly and left in a hurry. As I listened to the sound of the door slamming echoing in the empty room, I calmly dialed 120 and contacted the staff at the postpartum care facility. A man who didn't even realize that my water had broken was trying to give me an oath that he would be back before I went into labor. It was a bit ridiculous. Kevin Gu and I met in a hiking club. At that time, my work was very stressful, and I just wanted to make money. So I worked overtime and relied on the weekend to go hiking to recover my energy. Kevin Gu joined the club in the second year after I entered the club. At first he was just an ordinary friend. But with the number of times he and I were the first to climb to the top of the mountain, we gradually became familiar with each other. We got to know each other very well. He engaged in finance. I engage in the internet. He loves sports mountaineering. And I also love sports mountaineering. So when he and I climbed the 100th mountain, he confessed to me. There's nothing new in his confession. Just a simple sentence. It was just a simple sentence. "Emily Yi, let's fall in love." But I accepted it. After all, my dad had some new ideas. He even lit up half of the city with his pursuit of my mom, and even got caught in the police station. But still cannot stop the marriage want to have a son. So that my mom always drink Chinese medicine. And finally died in the maternity bed. So for me, romance is not important. Fancy is not important. Practicality is the most important. And it just so happens that Kevin Gu is very down to earth. He is never late for a date. The date gift is never new. But it's always there. He never picks me up when it's raining. But he's bound to come when I yell. So in the third year of my relationship with Kevin Gu, we got married. After marriage was no different from before marriage. I cook and he does the dishes. I buy the food and he comes home early to steam it. The calm and gentle days made me think for a while that Kevin Gu was the best person for me. Until one day 3 years ago, Kevin Gus' college friend got married and he took me to the wedding banquet. At the bachelor party, Kevin Gus' brother was drunk. He held Kevin Gus' palms straight to tears. "Gu brother, I see you now live into such a dead look. I really too heartbroken. Now that I'm married, I've entered the hall of happiness. But looking at you like this, it's really hard for me. If Jessica Jiang did not go abroad to be war correspondent, you will not be desperate. Close your heart." Kevin Gu immediately subconsciously looked at me. "Don't listen to him. He is drunk." I smiled and didn't say anything. But when I went home, I said with meaning, "Kevin Gu, I have all kinds of shortcomings. The only advantage is that I can quickly cut off the love." At that time, Kevin Gu was standing in the shadow of the dark night. Could not see his expression. But after that, Jessica Jiang completely disappeared from the world of Kevin Gu and me. Until now. Because I never answered the phone. I had just finished breastfeeding my daughter at the postpartum care facility. Kevin's mom eagerly pushed the door and came in. "Emily Yi, why didn't you answer my call? Do you know your dad is going crazy at the State Department? Do you know that your father is going crazy at the State Department? Come home with me right now and take Kevin Gus' ID to the State Department." Listening to Kevin's mom's words, I only calmly uttered 6 numbers. 6666313. Kevin's mom froze slightly. I carefully straightened my daughter's blanket before explaining. "I am now in postpartum recovery period inconvenient. This is the password of the home. You need any documents can go to the home to get." Kevin's mom's palms trembled slightly. Emily Yee. How can you be so heartless? Kevin Gu is now in the war zone, life and death unknown. Didn't you see Kevin Gus' mass text message asking for help? He said he was shot in the leg and is lying in a stranger's house hiding from the gun. I know you're in a postpartum recovery period. But this is an emergency. Can't you just come with me to the State Department and check on the situation? Kevin's mom's entire body was shaking and trembling as she said this. But I only said calmly. I know Kevin Gus' situation. He sent me several distress messages before the group text. But I didn't answer him. Kevin's mom's body stumbled violently. Looking at the expression on her face, I was a little intolerant. After all, Kevin Gu and I were married these 7 years. Kevin's mom was very good to me. To a large extent. To fill the gap of the loss of my mother. But now that was all ruined by Kevin Gu. I calmly took out the video of my conversation with Kevin Gu that night and handed it to Kevin's mom. Mom, don't blame me for being heartless. It was all Kevin Gus' own choice. Kevin's mom took it with trembling fingers. And when she watched the whole video, her body went limp on the floor. She disagreed with her lips several times before finding her voice. You listen to me. Emily Yee. Kevin Gu and Jessica Jiang really don't have anything. I couldn't bear it after all. Even though C-section's body was in pain, I still got out of bed and assisted Kevin's mom. Just like when Kevin Gu left the house despite my water breaking. I softened my heart and gave him my bank card and passport. I knew he was not physically involved with Jessica Jiang. But the fact that Kevin Gu had left his wife and daughter behind to go to war to find Jessica Jiang showed that he didn't think much of me and his little family. He would rather let my daughter lose her father and me lose my husband and become a widow than go to Jessica Jiang. So he has to be ready to bear the consequences of this matter. Kevin's mom blanched at my cold tone. She disagreed with the corners of her lips several times without uttering a word. Maybe even she couldn't find a reason to convince me. She finally gave up persuasion and stood up with a shivering body. You have a good postpartum recovery period. I'll leave first. After saying that, Kevin's mom seemed to have aged several years, and hurriedly left the door. Although I really couldn't bear it, I still called out to her when she was about to go out. Mom, when would be a convenient time this week for you and Dad to move out of my apartment? Kevin's mom didn't resist turning back sideways after all. You couldn't wait a minute. I shook my head. Didn't Kevin Gu wait to take me to the hospital after my water broke before he flew overseas? I just want to take care of all the matrimonial property that Kevin Gu and I have before he returns home. Kevin's mom might have been deadened by my words, and left the postpartum care facility with a trembling voice. I also took a long breath and lay back on the hospital bed again. The C-section wound on my body was oozing blood when I was helping Kevin's mom just now. Even though it hurt, I calmly called the doctor at the postpartum care facility to change the gauze. In the evening, Dad angrily pushed the door in. What do you mean? Why did you send a group message that you and Kevin Gu are getting divorced? I remembered that I was about to turn on my phone to watch a drama after Kevin's mom left. My phone kept ringing with message alerts. Kevin Gus coworkers. Kevin Gus cousins. And Kevin Gus friends kept sending me messages asking me how Kevin Gu was doing. I was really annoyed by the noise. So I followed Kevin Gus' example of sending a mass message to everyone abroad asking for help. I also sent a group message to everyone. Sorry everyone. Mr. Kevin Gu and I will be divorced soon after he returns to China. I don't know anything about Mr. Kevin Gu, who is deep in the battlefield and was injured by artillery fire. If you want to know anything about Mr. Kevin Gu, please contact Mr. Kevin Gus' parents. As soon as I sent this message, the phone went silent, just as I expected. And just for a few moments as I frowned, my dad, seeing that I didn't answer, angrily kicked my hospital bed violently. You're so selfish. Your husband is still deep in the battlefield. His death unknown. And you're in a hurry to get a divorce. This is how I taught you since I was a child. How can you be so heartless? Do you know that I am about to be drowned by the spittle of my relatives at home? I sneered and hooked up my lips. So you mean? I'm dragging my leaky belly now to go around pulling people's strings to save that husband who flew to his ex-girlfriend's house knowing he was at war. And call it friendship. Dad. Men know best. Do you think Kevin Gu will be grateful for what I've done? My dad was shaking with anger at my comment. I know why he was like that. Because my mom is obviously not well enough to have a second child. But my dad, who wanted a son, insisted on tricking my mom with all kinds of bullshit. Finally, my mom's tragic childbirth incident died in the hospital. My dad later realized that he regretted it. But was it useful? Still couldn't stop him. And the next year he found me a stepmother and the next year he had a son. That's why men know men best. Kevin Gu will either die on the battlefield this time or follow the romance story. No matter what I did in the country. He and her ex-girlfriend, who is a war correspondent, are bound to blossom into love. Even if he and that ex-girlfriend won't have a relationship. But can I still hold myself in this marriage? Accept a man who can lose his life for another woman. Since the outcome is all about divorce. Why don't I minimize the damage done to me? Dad, who had always been indifferent to me as a father and daughter, had only rushed to the house because something big had happened to his son-in-law. And he couldn't say no without coming to see what was going on. So he once again angrily accused me twice and left the postpartum care facility. During that time, he did not ask me a single question about whether the wound hurt or not, and whether my newborn daughter was well. But I was not the least bit hurt. Only angry. Because my daughter, after all, was woken up by her father's shit and cried a lot. After that my life was completely peaceful. I listed my home with Kevin Gu for sale at a low price. I got rid of all the stuff in the wedding house. Kevin Gu's personal belongings were packed and sent to his parents' house. I also threw away all the other things, such as the crib, stroller and clothes that Kevin Gu bought for his daughter. My daughter doesn't care about a father who doesn't love her. Before selling the house, I asked Kevin's mom if she wanted to pay me half of the money for Kevin Gu and his wedding house. Kevin's mom was a bit hesitant, but I still advised her. Mom, you and Dad should rent a house for the time being, and hold on to the money from the sale of the house and your old money in your hands. Just in case Kevin Gu becomes partially disabled or paraplegic. And then it will be difficult to live without money. At that time, Kevin's mom was again said by me a sentence. Purple face. Kevin's dad was so angry that he wanted to slap me. But I said calmly, Dad, didn't you just spend $1 million to find connections? It's not easy for you to find a way to repatriate Kevin Gu to his home country. So don't beat me up and get arrested and jailed at the police station again. Kevin Gu and Mom need you. After that, I calmly let the staff of the postpartum care facility send Kevin's mom and Kevin's dad out the door. Everything went according to my plan. The only thing that I couldn't pull out like a pin was the stream of Kevin Gus water sent to me by my lawyer. It was amazing how often he had been donating to needy children in various countries since 7 years ago. The small ones were about 3,000. But the big ones were almost 50,000 or 100,000, adding up to millions. Every single transfer was made to the Q International Children's Program, which Jessica Jiang is in charge of. You know, Kevin Gu and I almost split expenses over the years. Even during the year I had my baby. He was responsible for himself and I was responsible for me and the baby. I always thought that Kevin Gu saved his salary and took all his money to build abroad. But I wasn't so angry with him for donating to the children in the country. There are still hundreds of millions of people in our country who can't afford to eat. But he's so upset that children abroad don't have food to eat. My daughter's school district housing did not buy. But he, in order to support his ex-girlfriend's public welfare, emptied all the savings. The only remaining friendship is completely gone. And just when I was about to leave the month, Kevin Gu was finally deported back to the country. This also let me breathe a long sigh of relief. Kevin Gu's own father's 1 million fortunately not be fraudulent. But what followed was a stabbing pain in my heart. But within a few moments, I gathered myself, putting on my makeup, changing my clothes, and calmly heading to the airport to get ready for the pickup. After all, everything had been divided and it was time to give Kevin Gu the divorce papers. When I got to the airport, the waiting room was already full of people. All of them were Kevin Gu's relatives and friends, as well as his parents. All of them gave me strange looks when they saw me appear. I just ignored them. After a short wait, Kevin Gu was pushed out by a couple of staff in overalls, followed by a girl with a tanned face. The two men were close, and the girl stumbled over a rung as she descended from a bulkhead corridor. Kevin Gu then eagerly stood up from the cart, anxiously instructed, "You walk carefully. The leg just got shot." As I watched the scene, my palms subconsciously clenched. In the 7 years of our marriage, Kevin Gu has never treated me like this. And when he saw me stumbling or bumping into a table leg, he only frowned slightly and went on with his own business. So this is what the vivid Kevin Gu looks like in the mouth of Kevin Gu's brother. A stabbing pull of pain once again flooded my heart. And just as I frowned for a moment, Kevin Gu's cart had arrived in the center of the crowd. First, he hugged his parents excitedly. "Mom and Dad, I'm sorry. My son is unfilial. I made you worry." These days Kevin Gu's disappearance, let the old couple has long been physically and mentally exhausted. Immediately embraced, Kevin Gu cried out. The touching scene instantly made everyone around them red in the eyes. After Kevin Gu had finished hugging his parents, he dropped his eyes to me. The moment he saw me, he once again scarlet-browed. I smoothly walked up to him, but he didn't notice either my empty belly or the indifference on my face. Instead, the people around me showed strange looks. Kevin Gu held the palm of my hand, then painfully cried out to me, "Emily Yi, I finally did what I promised you. Safely home." Kevin Gu's tears were on the back of my hand, a little warm and a little disgusting. I used the force of patting the back of his hand to wipe away his tears on my skin. It was good to be home. When I finished, I calmly pulled out the divorce papers I'd been preparing for so long. I'm still in a hurry to go back to take care of my daughter. So see if it's convenient for you right now and sign this divorce agreement for me. Kevin Gu instantly stared straight at me incredulously. But I only calmly said, "Kevin Gu, that night when you left I told you, since you want to go to that war-torn country, you have to be ready to bear the consequences of this matter." Saying that, I dropped my sight to Kevin Gu's leg, which was still tied with gauze, and the black blood stains had already appeared on the gauze. In addition to the fact that you have to bear the consequences of being crippled in half by the shelling you received abroad. In addition to the consequences of having your parents worry so much that they can't sleep, desperately looking around for connections to get you repatriated. You also have to bear the consequences of losing me. You also have to bear the consequences of losing me. Losing your daughter. Losing our little family. Kevin Gu, you are a man. A man's word is his word. Kevin Gu's whole body trembled because of my words. Perhaps even he did not expect that I would be so determined. After all, in the 7 years of marriage with him, I never quarreled. If he didn't give me money, I didn't want it. And if he didn't want to do housework, I did. Even when he said he needed a private space and could he have 2 days a week to sleep in the den? I gave it. He was certain that I loved him dearly. And I do love him. Otherwise, I am so afraid of marriage and having children. If I don't love him, why would I enter into a marriage for him and have children for him? But Kevin Gu still ruined the only courage I had in my life. He put me on the same path as my mom. I don't hate Kevin Gu. After all, it's all my choice and am willing to take the consequences. But it doesn't mean that I will be a bun in the oven and tolerate Kevin Gu endlessly. Allowing him to have someone in his heart during his marriage to me was my biggest concession. And just as Kevin Gu and I stared at each other wordlessly, Jessica Jiang came over somewhat anxiously. Sister-in-law, there's really nothing going on between me and Gu. You've got it all wrong. I sneered and hooked up my lips. It doesn't matter if I misunderstood or not. But if you don't want people to misunderstand, you can return this $1 million+. Saying that, I directly pulled out Kevin Gu's bank flow these years. This is the money Kevin Gu transferred to your foundation all these years. Before and after almost more than $1 million. This belongs to the husband and wife joint property of Kevin Gu and I. Although it is a donation, I also have the right to retrospectively. If I sue to the court, you, the person of the foundation, will also be in trouble, right? After saying that, I sneered once again. Also, you a Kevin Gus ex-girlfriend. Stop calling me sister-in-law and call Kevin Gu Gu. I'm disgusted. After saying that, I once again sneered and looked at Kevin Gu, whose face had once again turned a few points white. I think you may not be able to sign this divorce agreement today. In that case, I won't bother. I wish you a good recovery, and soon be able to limp to divorce me. After that, I did not care about the strange looks of the people around me, and left the airport with my head held high. But only I know, under my proud figure, is my nails viciously poked into the heart of the hand of the intense pain. Divorce will be scraped into skin. This is not false. Just some people can endure. Some people can't. It just so happens that I'm one of those people who can. I went home that day after the divorce papers were delivered on the hoof. But the baby's daughter is still not smelled my familiar breath. Crying red face. My heart instantly clenched together. In a hurry to lift up the clothes, began to breastfeed their daughters. Feeling my daughter's body temperature, the tears that had filled my eyes eventually fell. I'm sorry, Jia. You were born without a father. But don't worry. Mom will give you 100% love. After that, I didn't intentionally pay attention to Kevin Gus news. But I still knew that Kevin Gu was in the ICU because of sepsis. And there was even a risk of his leg being cut off. Kevin's mom came to my door several times. Emily Yi. As if I am begging you. Please go to the hospital to see Kevin Gu. He is mumbling about you all the time. And Jia. As if I am begging you. Please take Jia to see Kevin Gu. I refused heartlessly. It's not that I'm heartless. But Jia recently caught a cold. The hospital population is complicated. Kevin Gu just came back from that country. What if there is still an undetected infectious disease? I couldn't manage to fulfill Kevin Gus' regret with my daughter's body. Even if Kevin Gu and I hadn't flown overseas, I wouldn't have taken my 1-month-old daughter to the hospital if he had gotten sick. And if Kevin Gu hadn't gone abroad, he wouldn't have suffered this disaster. Seeing me bite the bullet. Kevin's mom has aged a few points with each visit. Seeing her like this, I still have some intolerance. But all I can do is just hold her hand and reassure her that Kevin Gu will be fine. Kevin's dad is not as good-tempered as Kevin's mom, and he has come to my house several times, slamming the door every time I shut him out. My daughter, who was already sick, was scared by Kevin's dad and cried and spit up every time. Even the nanny couldn't stand it. This family is simply shameless. The child is still so small. Would have needed to rest. But these people are good. Every now and then make trouble. Their own son ran abroad to find a mistress. Shot and crippled. And now come to moral abduction you. To let their only granddaughter to visit his son in the hospital. See what see. Die the best. Just that night. When I received the call and rushed to your house. I saw you lying on the ground. Bleeding underneath. Dripping with amniotic fluid. Rolling around in pain. And there was no one in the house. And my heart ached for you. If you were my daughter, I would have hated to cut up this family. Listening to the nanny's ramblings, I didn't make too many comments. But I also feel that this family really can't live any longer. I was in the room. Hesitated for a long time. Then toward the nanny said, "Your home is not in the countryside. I can go to your home to live for a year. Don't worry. I will definitely pay for your rental expenses." Nanny slightly stunned. But thought of my current situation is really not very good. Immediately said, "Do not rent. You go directly to live. Is the condition is a little poor? I am afraid." The corner of my mouth revealed a bitter smile. Can a worse environment be as bad as here now? The air in the countryside is good. There are fewer people. And it is more suitable for Jia to grow. The nanny agreed immediately. After we decided to follow the nanny back to her hometown, we started packing that day and were ready to drive to the nanny's hometown early the next morning. Although the nanny said she didn't want to pay rent, I made the decision to transfer 50,000 yuan to the nanny as rent for the year. Until this point I was very grateful. These years, I have not relied on Kevin Gu Point. Otherwise I would not have been able to do so as now. When I was carrying a big bag with the nanny ready to go to the underground garage, I just opened the door and saw Jessica Jiang standing at the door. She frowned slightly as she looked at me carrying my things. "Gu is still alive and dead in the hospital. So you're not going to the hospital to take care of him. But you're moving?" Jessica Jiang's tone carried 2 parts accusation and 3 parts complaint. Looking at her motherly appearance, I was a bit sickened. "You are the one who caused Kevin Gu to suffer so much, aren't you? And now you are standing on the highest moral point to sanction me?" Jessica Jiang. "Face is a good thing. Please go to the ground and pick it up." Jessica Jiang's face is a bit ugly. "Why are you so small-minded? How many times have I told you that I don't have any relationship with Brother Gu? I didn't even know that he would come to the battlefield to find me." I laughed at Jessica Jiang's remark. "No contact? You have no contact with Kevin Gu. Then how did he know that your foundation was short of money? And it just so happened that every time was when you needed money." Jessica Jiang's face turned a little pale. I cut off her words directly. "If you can't say it, don't say it. No one has ever stipulated that a famous war correspondent can't be a junior. People have many sides." "I understand." Jessica Jiang's face once again turned a few points pale. "Please stop making up rumors. I have never interfered in your marriage. And I never want to interfere in your marriage." I smiled. What a coincidence. I am the same. Never wanted to meddle in your and Kevin Gus love. So you guys can do whatever you like. By the way, if Kevin Gu wakes up, please tell him not to contact me if not for the divorce. After saying that, I slammed Jessica Jiang, then turned around and entered the elevator. The nanny held the child and followed behind me, her eyes glaring so hard that those who didn't know would have thought that her eyes were capable of releasing lasers. After that, I never paid attention to Kevin Gu and Jessica Jiang again. After I changed my cell phone card, I took my daughter and stayed at the nanny's house. The nanny's house is in average condition. But the good thing is that it is clean. My husband is working overseas. And my son is already in college. And I took my daughter every day to rock and roll, feeding chickens and raising ducks. But also spent a very relaxed and enjoyable period of time. Until my daughter turned 1 year old. I just rolled back to the city belonging to Kevin Gu and I. And opened my WeChat. Which I hadn't opened for a year. When I turned on my phone, I was blown to death by the sudden onslaught of messages. And I immediately cleared all my chat records. Waiting for the phone to completely restore calm. I sent a message to Kevin Gu. I'm back. You see, when you have time, we go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to divorce. I sent over the WeChat. Kevin Gu did not reply. Just when I thought, Kevin Gu is not really dead, the knock on the door suddenly sounded. I was so scared that I shivered. I hurriedly made a wink towards the nanny and asked her to hurry and take my daughter back to her room. Only after seeing the door close did I go and open the door to the room. Suddenly seeing He Yan appear in front of the door, I was slightly stunned. He was quite old and disheveled. Especially when I saw his empty leg. A kind of sudden realization arose in my heart. I originally did not want to let him into the house. But seeing that he was a bit pitiful with his crutches, I still could not hold back my soft heart. And turned my back to let him into the house. Kevin Gu saw my action. Instantly scarlet eyebrows. He several times mumbled up lips and teeth want to speak. I stopped. Sit down first. Do not panic. Kevin Gu just sat down on the sofa. I very politely brought him fruits and added tea. The smoke curled up in the middle of Kevin Gu and I. Like the 7 years of our marriage. Every sunset afternoon, he and I sat on the balcony. He read a book. I played my favorite game of Go. Years of peace and quiet added a few minutes of silence. Kevin Gu is still the first to open his mouth. Emily Yi. I really miss you. I know I've hurt you. But please don't get a divorce. I really can't lose you. When he said these words, Kevin Gus's entire back was trembling. And his empty pants legs were swinging along with his sobbing. I already knew that divorce was not that simple. So I just calmly picked up my tea and took a light sip. It was hard enough for me to take care of my daughter. And I didn't really want to take care of another disabled person. I spoke a bit harshly. But I was speaking reality. Kevin Gus's face instantly turned pale. But I didn't soften my heart. I know that your life is difficult now. But I am not the Poverty Alleviation Office. And I am not obliged to save you. The only thing I can do is to give you some convenience in property division. Before I gave you the divorce agreement on the property I6 you for. But see, you now really have some difficulties. I can give you 6 I for. Kevin Gu at this time, even the lips are a little trembling. You have to be so desperate. When I was lying in the ICU, you did not say a word with the child ran away. Do you know I almost died? Looking at Kevin Gus's words and the grievances, I only calmly smiled. I don't know. Why should I know? At that time when you left the country, I told you. The consequences of your own responsibility. You promised at that time. Kevin Gus's palms were once again tightened. That is, you did not tell me. You will divorce me. I was Kevin Gu to angry laugh. I took out my cell phone and handed Kevin Gu the video of that night. In the video, although Kevin Gu and I didn't argue the whole time, I was constantly bleeding from my lower body. And even at the end when Kevin Gu left, there were still footprints on the floor that I stepped out with blood. Kevin Gu didn't even see the obvious bloodstains. And even turned around and resented me. After watching the video, Kevin Gu, his body violently paralyzed on the sofa. Looking at his expression, I only calmly sipped my tea again. I can also take a step back. I can allow you to see your daughter. But once a month. If your daughter grows up and is willing to contact you, I can also increase the number of times for you. And you are now disabled. I think your previous financial company cannot go back. And this society treats the disabled in fact is not so harmonious. You also do not want to grab the custody of your daughter with me. After all, at first it was your own choice to give up your daughter. So do not come to show off your father's love. The same considering your financial income. Daughter's maintenance. I cannot even. After saying that, I paused and finally continued in an unforgiving manner. Kevin Gu. I from the beginning to the end just want to calmly divorce. Do not want to quarrel, do not want to make trouble. After all, I had really loved you. Although I and you have really some unpleasant. But I hope that the two of us after the divorce can still be friends. At least in the front of the daughter can be friends. Kevin Gus' face completely grayed out completely. Perhaps seeing that there was really no room for détente. He only trembling voice said, "Okay. Tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. I in front of the Civil Affairs Bureau waiting for you." After saying that, Kevin Gu supported the crutches and went out the door. Kevin Gu just left. My cell phone rang. Looking at the WeChat note, I was a little hesitant. Because the person who called me was Kevin Gus' brother's wife. Although she and I know each other, we seldom contact each other in private. Some doubts. But I still connected. Just after connecting the other party said in surprise, "Sister, you can finally come back. Really? You do not know that you are now my idol." I slightly frowned. May be aware of my doubts. The other side continued. "Do you know? After you left, Kevin Gu that disease. A day tens of thousands of smashed to the hospital. Kevin Gus' own parents to sell the old family house. And like my husband and around the brothers borrowed a lot of money. Only to Kevin Gus' life to drag back. I'm telling you, if you don't run, you're going to be in debt for millions of dollars. And do you know that Jessica Jiang, who was so sincere in taking care of Kevin Gu in the hospital, rubbing your husband's body and feeding him, but then she ran away within a month, saying that she had to go abroad for work, which means she hated the trouble of taking care of the patients. And do you know that when everyone was trying to raise money for your husband's treatment, that Jessica Jiang didn't pay a penny? It's a pity that Kevin Gu tried his best to save her." Listening to the other party's words, the corner of my mouth revealed a bitter smile. In fact, I knew this would be the result. But regardless of the direction of this matter, I do not care. As long as Kevin Gu does not take the debt of his medical treatment forced on me, I can and his good separation. But the good thing is that Kevin Gu at least is still a person. The next day to the Civil Affairs Bureau. He did not mention his current debt. With the same divorce agreement before. The property I-64. For Kevin Gus' approach. I did not refuse. Why would I not want to get money for nothing? When I got the divorce papers, Kevin Gus' eyes were a little red. And he disagreed several times. But the last thing that came out of his mouth was, "Can I see my daughter today?" Of course. I asked the nanny to carry my daughter downstairs that day. I hurriedly washed my mouth with cold water to cool it down, then hurried back to my room and slammed the door. Every time he looked sideways at me, when I wouldn't have left home. I would have had a very different life. I smiled. I don't know about the rest. But my daughter would have had a father. Kevin Gu cried again at my words. But I just pretended that I didn't see it. I even let Kevin Gu stay with my daughter for only half an hour. And then calmly said, "My daughter is probably going to take a nap. Why don't you go home first? And come back next month." Kevin Gus' palms clenched. But he did not say anything. After that, Kevin Gu would come every month on time to play with my daughter for a while. And sometimes he would bring up the idea of letting my daughter go home to see her grandmother. But I refused every time. It wasn't until my daughter turned 6 that I gave her the right to decide whether or not she wanted to go back to see her grandparents. And whether or not she wanted to go home with her dad. My daughter went home with her dad once. But she never went back. Because Kevin's dad yelled at me the whole time we were eating. After that, my daughter never went back. Kevin Gus' visits to his daughter were limited to when she was 10 years old. When he remarried to a woman with a low education and a son. And then he seldom came to see her again. I don't know how he's doing. But my daughter and I are doing quite well. We fly abroad when we are on vacation and travel around the world. Occasionally I ask my daughter if she hates me for leaving her without a father. Every time my daughter looks at me with disgust. I have a lot of dads. Don't I? You bring a man back every now and then to feed my eyes. I'm afraid I won't be able to get married in the future.